So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Red Table Wisdom Talk. I'm Cathy Mines, the Director of Wellness at Reach Yoga, and I take my seat at the Red Table as host and call moderator. The Red Table Wisdom Talks are weekly conversations between Kahontakwas Diane Longboat and people worldwide who are looking to participate in exchanges that lift the spirit. This virtual community space is provided solely for the purpose of making Indigenous teachings available in the spirit of reconciliation. Diane is a ceremonial leader, traditional teacher, and healer, and the founder of Soul of the Mother, a healing lodge on the shores of the Grand River at Six Nations, Grand River Territory. Kahontakwas, we make our tobacco offering to you with respect and thanks for your traditional teachings tonight.
Thank you so much, Cathy, and it's wonderful to see everybody on the line. I am so grateful that you're all back and that I can see you and that I can eventually hear your voices as you ask questions. My name is Kahontakwas. I'm Mohawk Turtle Clan from Six Nations in the Grand River Territory. And I really look forward to all of these talks once a week where we can share the dreams, share the visions, share the teachings, and strengthen one another and uplift each other at this time. So I wanted to offer some words of opening first that will gather our hearts and minds together. And the reason for this, is because we as human beings have been given a spiritual mandate by the Creator. And that mandate is to bring harmony into the world with the gifts that we've been given. And in order to bring harmony into the world, it's essential to understand humility, to understand love, caring, respect, generosity, kindness, and to express all of those things when we give thanks for all of what we have here upon the earth. And so I always begin with the Creator, because I believe that when we offer our words of gratitude to the Creator, that what really happens is that all those beings that we mention in our invocation come to stand with us. They strengthen us. And so these words of thanksgiving are so important and very critical for our spiritual and mental well-being each and every day. So grateful to you, Sangwe Dison, for the gift of life that we have for one more day, that we awaken in the morning and we see that red and purple sunrise. We feel the gentle winds and we hear the birds singing in the trees. We are grateful, Sangwe Dison, for the gift of life. This day we think of all of the human beings upon the earth, the great diversity of human life in the rich faith traditions and cultures and languages throughout the world. And we say that we as human beings are like the flowers in your garden, very different and each with its special nature, but we are all flowers. We give thanks, Sangwe Dison, for the waters that are upon the earth and all of the living beings inside those waters, for all of the mineral life that is underneath our feet, the mineral life that is so essential to all life, that contains the great life force that you have put into Mother Earth. We give thanks for the oldest form of life on the earth, plant life, all of the shrubs and the trees and the food-bearing plants that are coming to life now in this new cycle. We give thanks for all of the sustainers of life, the corn, the beans, and the squash. We give thanks for the maple trees as the ones who give us the cleansing medicine in the springtime and the sweetness of life through the maple syrup. We give thanks and honor to all of the medicine plants, of which tobacco, of course, is our lead for making all of our offerings. But the plant that will come up first as a medicine for us to clean our blood systems and strengthen us are the strawberries that will join us next month. So we give thanks for all of the plant life that is upon the earth, for all the medicines that we are now drinking daily to become strong and to strengthen our immune systems. We thank all of the animal life that keeps company with us here on the earth, the animal life that gives us not only sustenance, but gives us company and is really beautiful for us as brothers and sisters. We give thanks to all the bird life that is returning and those that have stayed the winter with us, and appreciate all of your songs. Thank you for all the work you do to spread the seeds around and to help Mother Earth in her beauty. We give thanks to all of the small ones, the insects and the crawlers, the ones that enrich the soil and bring new life into the world. We give thanks for all of them because they nourish the soil and the soil nourishes us. We give thanks this day for that whole council of creation, all the living things that are in the air, the living things that are in the waters, the living things upon the land, and the great waters of life. We understand that there are salt waters, fresh waters, rain waters, and birth waters, and we thank all of them for the greatness that they bring to us, for the medicine that they carry, that is life. Over the earth, we see that there are 4 grandfather winds that continue to blow and to refresh Mother Earth. We give thanks for those grandfather winds, and to the thunder beings that were joining us today and bringing the rains to nourish life that is here. We thank those thunder beings for the lightning that comes from their eyes that nourishes the air and cleans it, and for the water that the thunderbirds carry on their back, that is the rain, that heals the land, the air, and the waters. Above the earth, there are 4 sacred beings that the Creator put in place to watch over us. We thank them for the continuance of the work that they do for us, to bring us dreams and vision and teaching and guidance and correction, and for their walk among us from time to time. We acknowledge all the stars that represent our ancestors, and we acknowledge our grandmother, the moon, who takes care of the female life, leaves medicine throughout her circling of the earth, and we give thanks to her for the fertility, for the continuance of life, for new life that is coming. We understand that the grandfather sun, our great warrior, our elder brother, the sun, is male energy that brings life to the world through sunlight, whose walk across the sky each day never fails the Creator to renew the life that the Creator has made here. And we give thanks to that grandfather sun so that we can walk strong as the sun does, never failing in our duties for the Creator. We give thanks and honor this day to those stars that form the bridge from the natural world to the high heavens of the spirit world, the Milky Way. Across that bridge, our souls will walk one day to join our relatives in that place of peace. The ancestors have fires that are burning on the other side. And the ancestors pray for us each day, for they know what it is to be a frail and weak and ignorant human being. And they strengthen us with their prayers, with the great love that they have for us. And we thank the ancestors for their prayers. In that place of peace is a great council fire that is burning. The Creator has placed at that council fire those spirit beings that assisted him at the time of creation to finish his work here upon Mother Earth. They are seated at that great council fire, along with great healers, teachers, visionaries, prophets, and leaders. They are the ones who are the workers who answer our tobacco each day when we make our offerings. And so this day we give thanks that those great ones are seated there, that they can hear us as we speak this evening. They understand what is in our hearts and in our minds, even though those things are not voiced out loud. They know how to help us, and we have to humble ourselves to be able to reach to them for help. Our tobacco and our offerings are key to be able to reach that council fire. The Creator will hear us with our tobacco and our offerings, and the Creator will command those beings throughout the universe to answer our tobacco. And so with these words, we give thanks that we have made it through one more week, that we are all well and at peace, that we are all in deep relationship with one another, that we have love in our families, health, well-being, and that the Creator continues to bless us each and every day. So with these words, we give thanks, and we bring our hearts and minds together for the work that we want to do this evening. Nyawa. So I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about some of the things that we see happening in our area. And of course, you know, as people have been quarantined for about 8 weeks now, some places 10 weeks, people are seeing the warm weather evolve, and they want to get out and they want to do things. And so there's a lot of anxiety, and there's also a lot of fear about what it's going to be like to go out again, and the fear of becoming ill. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about anger, and where anger comes from and how to deal with anger. So anger is, along with fear, probably the most elemental emotions that we have as human beings. And as much as we're born into this world in a physical sense, and we carry our souls with us, our spirit, our gifts, and our ancestral lineage, and the spirit beings that are walking with us, we come into this world, and it in a sense of purity, in a sense of coming fresh from that spirit world. And that's why everybody wants to hold those newborn babies, because of the smell that they have. And it's like a deep remembrance of what it was like to be in the spirit world. When the babies come to us, they come into a place that is dark and is wounded. Human beings have profoundly hurt each other over the time, when we have forgotten the natural laws of how to take care of the earth, and we have forgotten the spiritual laws of how to take care of each other and respect one another. And we have fallen out of balance. Men and women have fallen out of balance with one another. So this is an important time now to look at the most elemental of all of those human emotions, which is fear. Fear comes to babies, maybe who have been hurt or dropped, or neglected. And so from a very early age, we have that feeling inside of us that is fear. And as we grow older, we understand that in order to protect ourselves from further wounding, that anger always will stand there as a defense mechanism. And when people are angry, others around want to move away from them. And so it becomes a defense mechanism. You don't have to deal with that anger. And so we have in our lifetimes gone through many things. We have gone through many disappointments. We've gone through loss of loved ones, loss of jobs, loss of homes, maybe, loss on many profound and deep levels. And so, how do you deal with that loss? How do you deal with that deep grief, the wounding, the fear, the anger? So I wanted to share with you this evening an anger ceremony that I want to pass to you. And it's a very personal ceremony, very personal. And it's one that you will do by yourself in private. It's a ceremony where you need to prepare some medicine for yourself before you start. So wherever you are, you can find sage or sweetgrass or cedar, and you can boil that up in a 3-quart pot, and make a space for yourself in a quiet place where you know you're not going to be disturbed. And sometimes it can be outside as much as it can be inside. And in that space, take with you a rattle or a shaker and a clean face cloth, your tobacco and your smudge, and sit in the room or on the land. And by the water, it's also really beautiful. So when you smudge yourself and the medicine and your cloth and your tobacco, cleanse yourself and prepare yourself for something that's going to take you on a journey. Make your offering of tobacco to the Creator and ask the Creator to help you to understand where that fear comes from. to go back to the very first time in your human memory that you can remember being afraid. So that could be when you were 2 years old, maybe 1 year old. It's that first memory of fear. And you're shaking your rattle while you've made that prayer, and you shake your rattle and you close your eyes and you relax and you allow yourself to go back in time to that very first memory of fear. And along with fear is that elemental feeling of anger. And so you may kind of blur the edges of that a little bit, but that's okay, because you've already made your prayer and you've already asked the Creator to help you through the journey. And so sitting there with your rattle, eyes closed, shaking your rattle, and asking the Creator to help you to remember that very first time when you were afraid, when you had fear, when you felt angry and unsettled. And you'll notice that as you go back, that the cadence of that rattle will change. It might go faster. It might go slower. It might take on a specific beat, but that is the ancestors that's working with you. Those ancestors will work with you to make that rattle move in a way that is not you shaking it. And so you'll know when to stop and come out of that deep memory, because your rattle will stop shaking. And when that happens, put your rattle down and smudge yourself, and then take that washcloth and dip it inside the water so that it's soaked. Then you wring it out and you wash over your face, wring it out again, wash over your hair. So you take that clean washcloth and you wash it over your hair because it's got medicine in it. You wash and take your shoes and socks off, wash your feet and wash your hands, because that medicine is going to pull the anger from you. It's going to pull the fear from you. And so it's an important opportunity for you to continuously work on this. And so it's a pretty deep emotional ceremony. And when you do it 7 days in a row, you're going to notice that you're going to be really tired, because your body has been holding on to that fear memory somewhere in the body for such a long time. So when you look at the kidneys and you look at the adrenal glands, that's where fear sits. The feeling that you need to protect yourself is in the very bottom of your spine. And sometimes people will have pains in the bottom of their spines, and they'll call it sciatica. But it's a real, your body's trying to tell you that you're emotionally trying to protect yourself. So these are important times to be able to deal with fear and with anger, because when we do go back to work, we do ride buses, we do go into stores, we go into restaurants, we want to be able to move within those environments as kind and peaceful and balanced human beings. Because all around us, I'm going to tell you that all around us, it will seem very chaotic, because people will be walking and living in fear. Fear of each other, fear of brushing up against someone and getting sick, fear and anger at something that is too crowded, a bus that is too crowded, an office space that is too crowded, all those things, a street that's too crowded. You're going to notice that people are starting to drive in a different way, that people are running stop signs, that people are going through red lights, that their minds are still not fully present from the trauma of being pulled out of what they consider to be normal life and placed in a time and a place of restriction, where they never had control over what was going to happen. and we still don't have control over what is going to happen. And so people are angry about that now. And you see the protests all over where people want to open up the economy, get down to business, make money, go back to jobs and so on. And they're angry at governments that are trying to listen to public health agencies. So that anger is going to spill over. And we're going to see a lot of violence. We're going to see a lot of grisly things that we've never seen before, we've never heard before. We're going to see the rise of hate groups in a way that we've also never anticipated. Because then if we are not dealing with fear and anger, it's very easy to be pulled in to that world. It's easy to be pulled in and reactionary to people who want to hurt us or want to push us away. It's very easy to be pulled into altercations with people who want to blame you for something. And so when people's minds are not clear and not at a good state of balance, they have not taken care of themselves, their families, their people, their communities. That's when there's going to be reactionary emotional outbursts. And so we as spiritual people need to really help each other and help those around us to understand that we need now to use this time period to deal with anger, to deal with fear, and to be really strong, knowing that no matter who we are, where we walk, and what we do, that we are the spiritual emissaries of the Creator. We are the workers of the Creator. We're the ones that carry messages, have dreams, have visions, carry the ancient Indigenous wisdom, prophecies, teachings, healings, all of those things. We are the ones that carry that. And so we need to be proud of ourselves and to walk with honor, but also walk with compassion and kindness and generosity, a generosity of spirit that will defeat a lot of the hardship that we're going to be witnessing. And don't forget, as the economy falls apart, the empire is falling. The empire is falling. And as everything we know falls around us, there is a natural tendency to chaos. And so this is a time when we as spiritual people need to be strong in all ways. And I say spiritual people because I include all faith traditions in that, because there are shamanic traditions in all of the major faith traditions. And, it's important to be able to know that when you pray, you make an invocation, you give thanks, you know that there's a spiritual being that is much higher than ourselves that is hearing us and will answer us. So I wanted to share that with you and give you that discipline. So when you do that for 7 days, make sure you take some time off. Take 4 days off and then start it again. And if you find, as you go through that anger ceremony that, well, maybe your first memory of fear or anger was when you were 2 years old and you didn't really feel it again till you were 4, that's fine. Because from that point, then you're going to move into the years when you started school. And, that's where other things will evolve in your memory of anger and fear. So work through, and, only the Creator will know and will tell you when you're done. But you go as far as you can, and you be gentle with yourself to do your best, because these are deeply emotional ceremonies. And you need to take time in between as you're working through them to be able to adjust to the new you that is emerging. There's a new you that's in there that does not want to be that wounded individual. That new you wants to be that strong and sacred warrior of peace. And what is holding you back are negative emotions that will block you from receiving the spirit beings that want to live inside of you. Those negative emotions will block that. So none of us are immune, from fear or anger. We've all experienced it and continue to experience it in our lives. But really the important piece is how we deal with it, because this is an opportunity in these kinds of talks to share a little bit about spiritual discipline and some of the techniques that we use for our own self-care. So I wanted to share that with you tonight, and to also open it up for any questions that you might have for clarity, and turn it back to Cathy, because she has also collected questions from you from last week. So thank you, Cathy. Nyawa.
Wow. Thank you. That's so helpful. Thank you so much. And I did get a couple of questions. I'll say them both. If you don't have a rattle, what would you do? And also the 3-quart pot of medicine. Does that go until it's like, would you take smaller bowls and wet your face cloth, or are you using the 3-quart for each ceremony?
You can use smaller bowls for each of your ceremonies. So if you want to make a pot of medicine, like in a larger pot, a 6-quart pot, then you can do that and just take out what you need for your ceremony each day. Yeah.
Thank you. If you don't have a shaker,
what can we use?
Like, would we use a thing of vitamins or Tic Tacs to make that sound?
You could.
Okay. Okay.
Or a drum,
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Okay, everybody. I'm going to call on Michael, as you had a dream to share. There's 2 dreams up, and then we'll get to the questions. Michael, would you like to unmute yourself and share your dream, please?
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so in my dream, I was in the middle of a deep, thick forest, and I'm sitting on the edge of a stream in this forest, and there's a Japanese man sitting across on the other side of this stream, and he's got his head down. He's looking at an eddy, like a little whirlpool in the stream, where the water's kind of going slow and it's deeper. And he's actually mesmerized by this eddy. He's in a kind of a trance, like he's like entranced by it. And so he looks. I get up, and I'm going to cross the stream to help him. He seems just paralyzed by this eddy. And as I stand up, I felt something move in the water, and this boulder, like, maybe 2 feet across, just kind of moved down the stream, and the eddy disappeared, and he snapped out of his spell. It's like he was under a spell, and he snapped out of it and sort of looked at me like, okay. and that was it. That was it for the dream, as far as I could remember. Yeah. So I thought I'd share that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think those are important dreams that come from the earth, and especially from the grandmother spirit of the water. I was in conversation with a Medewan spiritual leader earlier today, and she told me that that the grandmother spirit of the salt water is tears, because we cry salty tears, and she is the grandmother of the salt waters. So I want to just really acknowledge that that the waters have a heartbeat. We always say Mother Earth has a heartbeat. I have heard the heartbeat of the waters. They're from a machine that was put down in the waters before a dam was inserted into the water system. And it was a really powerful, strong heartbeat, just like Mother Earth's heartbeat. And then I heard about 15 years later, they put that same machine in the same place in that water, and the heartbeat was very weak, because human beings had dammed the river. And I want to say that, what the old people would always say is that whatever you do to the earth, you do to yourself. And so that whole notion of, getting your arteries clogged up, it's just like what we've done to the earth and clogging up her arteries with all the dams that we've put in and the draining of her aquifers. So back to that beautiful stream where he was mesmerized by that pool of water, that eddy. I would say that the closest I could say I understand that dream is in New York State. There's a beautiful river, and in that river, in a certain place, there was a council about 400 years ago. Neighboring tribal groups needed to make a peace council, and they were looking for, their emissaries went out, and they were looking for a place to hold that peace council. And when they looked in the river, they saw exactly what you described, that eddy. It was absolutely round and very visible, and they chose that place as a very special place to hold council and to make peace. Today, when you see pictures of that river, what you see in the wintertime, and you never know when it's going to appear, that special eddy appears, and it's really pretty big. And so as much as the river looks like it's frozen over, there's a spinning part, an absolutely perfect circle in the middle of the river that just has light sheets of ice floating on it, and it continuously spins. And in the summer, it'll appear. No one knows when or how. And it doesn't appear every year. So, I always believe that the waters have a message for us, that they are absolutely alive. And so, what I would suggest you do is make offerings to understand the spirit of the water and the message that she has for you in that dream. Because I think, when you dream about water, there's a tremendous change that's coming to your life. And so it's best to be a little bit ahead of it so you can cope with it as it comes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually going to go to a question because it's from a young person, and I'll get back to that dream after this. So the question is from Jody and her son, who's 18. He came and listened for most of this talk, and they had just discussed his hitting a wall today and feeling vengeance and anger rising in him. And he's disappointed that the world seems to be on a move away from justice. And he says he knows his mental health is not good right now. And what guidance would you have for him? He is a person who learned to stuff his feelings away. And how can he honor and acknowledge the feelings and validate them without falling into the indulgence of anger?
Yeah. Oh, don't you love the questions from young people?
Oh.
Like they just cover everything that we really need to know. So thank you for that question. For those of us, and I would say us, who are very masterful at stuffing those feelings down, I would suggest that you go outside to find a place for yourself that you feel is private, and take some tobacco and smudge with you. I know Jody has some. And when you sit out there and smudge yourself and hold that tobacco, dig a hole, just a small hole, and tell Mother Earth the hurts that you have. Tell Mother Earth the concerns and the worries and the feelings of anxiety and doubt and loss and grieving that are bothering you. And speak those out loud. And that's why you kind of have to find, a private space. You're talking to your first mother. when you go out there and you sit on the land. And your first mother will cradle you, and she will comfort you, and she'll raise you up again. And so you then finish off by putting your tobacco inside that hole, and then cover it up again, and then put some tobacco on top of that hole, so that anybody walking over that doesn't pick up anything negative that you've left there. And because you left it with tobacco, Mother Earth will take it, and she'll change that negative into something that's positive. So you need to talk, you need to release, and choose your favorite place. You can choose many places. You don't have to choose just one. Maybe someday on a warm, sunny morning, you'll choose a big tree, and you'll put your back against that tree, and then you'll dig a little bit of a hole around the roots, and smudge yourself. Take your tobacco, put your tobacco in that hole. Talk to Mother Earth about the pains in your life. And when you're done, cover it up and put tobacco on top. And when you do that, you're going to find that you're going to start to feel better. You're going to have a more positive outlook. And the gifts that you've already been born with will start to come out and start to flourish. And you're at that age now where the spirits are going to be working with you stronger as you get older. And so it's important for you to make that connection on your own to the land and to the spirits and to the ancestors. And make no mistake about it, when you're out there, the birds, the squirrels, the rabbits, the chipmunks, everybody knows why you're out there. They know why you're out there. They're going to help you. You're not alone sitting out there. So, do something for yourself that is very special, because mental health is a big challenge for all of us at this time. And so this is one of the ways where you can heal and you can start to feel balanced again. Thanks for that question.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody that these calls are recorded, and basically before you go to bed, they're up that you can watch. So some of our direction this evening, you can keep listening again and again. So if you need to hear that again, don't worry, it's recorded. I also want to read from Kelly. She said a nice thing. She said a great little shaker can be made out of, those kind of plastic Easter eggs you'd hide treats in for kids, and put in corn or rice, of course. Yeah, fun, cute,
Oh,
cute.
That's good. Thanks, Kelly.
Also, is there a certain type of tobacco that we should be using?
I think, our sacred tobacco that we grow is always our preferred kind, but not everybody has it. And, it's been a long winter, and people have been in lots of ceremonies. So we're getting low on our sacred tobacco, and we're just, our seedlings are getting ready to sprout and to go out into the garden. So they're kind of in the greenhouse now and getting ready to go out. But I want to say that, any tobacco is going to do the trick. So, when you use sacred tobacco, you just use a pinch of it, because it's the original tobacco that came with Sky Woman from the spirit world when life was being created here. And so, not everybody has that. Not everybody can grow it. And it's really kind of the men's business to grow that tobacco. But commercial tobacco, so you use twice as much of it when you have to use commercial tobacco. You can use pipe tobacco, you can use cigarette tobacco, loose cigarette tobacco. It's up to you, whatever you can find. And sometimes, we're going to be in a situation where we have no tobacco. And the most powerful gift you can give to the Creator is your own prayer. So if you don't have any of the things that we're talking about here tonight, don't worry about any of that, because you can always do your own ceremony with your own prayers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for asking that. So I'm going to read a dream from Leanne. She keeps having this beautiful dream that I've been able to return to teaching in some way because she's on sick leave right now, a teacher on sick leave. And in my dream, I'm in an educational setting, that's clear, but we're outside. And the kids are so happy to be outside. And they're also younger than I usually teach. And they don't seem to be from here. They seem new to this land in some way. It's strange, but so happy and full of life. It's a repeating dream.
Isn't that what reconciliation's all about?
Oh my God.
All of those young people who may not be from here, but being introduced to this homeland of Canada and the homeland of Turtle Island, and by teachers who have them on the land so that they can fall in love with creation. And I think about people who are not from here, non-Indigenous people. And a friend of mine asked me a little while ago, what does reconciliation mean to you? And I said, I think we will have achieved reconciliation when the people who are the ones who are non-Indigenous, who live with us here, fall in love with creation as much as we do. And they love creation so much that they will do everything that they have to do to protect it, to honor natural laws, and to live with each other in that spirit of kindness and generosity and equity. So, these are challenging times, and these talks are rich in that respect, that people get to ask questions of the heart and listen to some of the things that we do, as Indigenous people, to help ourselves and to help our people. So thanks for that question.
Thank you. Also, I see Mama D is on. Yes, you'll get on the mailing list at Soul of the Mother. Sorry that you had a hard time finding this. But I also want to say to you, because Adrienne is on last week when you shared, she shared in the box that she would do drawings for your book. So if you want to privately give me your email, I'll make sure you get on the mailing list and hook you two up. All right. So from the questions that we had, basically this is what happens every time there's questions, and you tend to answer them before I get to ask them. But I'm going to share this one from Anne, because last week you spoke about doing our personal healing to find inner peace, and that will help heal our families and communities by doing that. And as part of that healing, how can we help support those in our circle who are having a hard time looking at their own material?
You can pray for them. You can't push anybody along a journey of healing that doesn't want to be pushed, but you can pray for them, that there'll be an opening where their consciousness will say, it's my time now. I deserve this. I need to heal. And hopefully by being a mentor and by being a role model, they'll see the kind of peace that you have in your life, and they'll want to follow. They'll ask you those questions about how you attained that state of balance and that state of positive thinking in times of chaos. Because make no mistake about it, these are chaotic times. And so how is it that spiritual people can maintain their balance and walk through the clarity in the mind, and a kind and loving heart, a strong spirit, and take care of our bodies during this time period? How is that? Because we worked hard at dealing with our issues of anger, hatred, fear, greed, loss, grieving, all those things. Like we work at it. And so it's not something that's a magic pill, or that it just, with one ceremony, it's going to leave you. But it's intended, those ceremonies are intended to restore balance within you and create harmony within you. And that's why, when you've been in a ceremony for the next 48 hours, you feel like you're walking on air, because you've touched the spirit world, and the spirit world is harmony. It is peace. It is unity. It is love. And so, that's what we have to continue to generate in our personal lives.
Thank you very much. Sunny, please unmute yourself. Thank you.
So I just wanted to share something. It's not a dream, but it really affected me when I heard it. I was watching the news and there was different business people, non-Indigenous people on talking about the virus and how it's affecting different things. And there was a white woman on there, and she was talking about the new normal and how like these big companies that have thousands and thousands of employees, that when things start back, that probably only 25% will actually go back to the office. Everybody else will continue indefinitely to work at home. And then just talking about the economy and all these kinds of things. And her last statement, she said, but there's no denying that because of our changes, Mother Earth has encountered a significant healing. And she goes, and so nobody can afford to ignore that we have to continue on the path that we are, which is giving her a break. And it was so profound because it was a totally professional white woman saying that. And I was like, thank you, God, for hearing the prayers, because, you know, she's realizing it. And that means some of these other people have to be realizing it, that it's not just us. And I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I think that's an important realization. And so as much as our teachings talk about that all the time, and so we take it as second nature, you know, that you have to live within natural law. Not everybody gets that. And corporate North America doesn't get that. They, from the time of colonization, look at land and resources as a commodity, not as a living being. And so now I want to just say something to you that I hope each and every one of you will hold in your spirits and in your hearts. That it's time for us as spiritual people to find a place outside. For us, it'll be at our lodge on the shores of the Grand River. You find your place. You go out there and you make your prayers and your offerings, and you ask the Creator for the kind of world that you want, for the kind of earth that you want, for the kind of economy, legal system, health system, education system that you want. And make sure that you say it out loud, and make sure you leave something in exchange for the asking. Because every time you ask, you got to leave something in exchange. When you verbally ask the Creator for a world of peace, where all children who enter that world are cared for and loved, where all people are fed, where we live in a world of abundance, not scarcity, where we live in a world of peace, not war, where the medicines of the waters and of the lands are abundant for all people, that we live in a very humble way on the earth, and that we understand how to be in relationship with one another as human beings. When you start to pray for the kind of world that you want and the earth that you want going forward, and it's in alignment with the natural laws that the Creator's already put in place, and in alignment with the spiritual laws that govern all of us, it's going to happen. But as spiritual people, we have to start praying for that. Pray for that kind of world that you want. And, you know, if you think for a moment that you will achieve that world with the governments that we have, you will be sadly disappointed. It is not the role of governments to give us that world. It's up to us to pray for the world that we want and to work towards its evolution. So every single one of you has been sent here with spiritual mandate, and your mandate has your sacred name, all the gifts that the Creator gave you, your ancestral lineage, and the power to be able to bring change into the world. You need to remember that about yourself, because the power that you have is not in voting. The power that you have is not just in being a citizen of a particular country. The power that you have is immense spiritual power. And that immense spiritual power is so powerful that it can deal with military power, it can deal with nuclear power, it can deal with pandemics, it can deal with all the profound negative that starts to come our way. But you have to develop that spiritual power. And that's what healing is all about, to be able to purify yourself so that those spiritual beings will enter you to do this great work that lies ahead. So we have great work, that is going to be rebuilding the world that we say that we want. And so it's up to you now to say, out loud, you collectively, out loud, what is it that you want in that world to come? And then work towards that. Just do your part. Don't do anybody else's part. Just do your part with the gifts you've been given. And it will evolve. It will happen. I remember a number of dreams that talked about how people below me who would now be like 100, 110, 120 years old, how those individuals were chiefs and clan mothers and faith keepers in my community, and how they prayed for my generation so that we would never lose our language or our culture or our ceremonies. That was their big fear, because, with World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, and then the application of science away from warfare and back into the corporate America, that there was so much heavy duty colonization that was going on and a change in life, that they feared that we in my generation would lose the language, the culture, and the ceremonies. So, it's been a long haul for their prayers to be heard and to be answered, but their prayers have been answered. And we are the result of their prayers. We're the foundation of the rebuilding. People in your children's generation they're the pillars of the lodge, and your grandchildren are the rafters of the lodge. They're the ones that are going to fully see the changes that we're praying for today. So if you want a beautiful life for your grandchildren, do your prayers today on the kind of world that you want to evolve, and it will be. Because we're all praying together, and we've reached the tipping point. So,
Thank you.
be strong.
Okay. So, also, I want to say this to the group. Sometimes you're messaging me privately, and I think it just happens in the chat box by accident, and then I go ahead and call out your name. I apologize if you meant for it to be private. So I'm going to stop calling out the names when you message me private, just so you know that. And here we go. Ideas on how to generate authentic love rather than to pretend to love someone.
Well, you have to love yourself first. That's where it starts. Self-love. That's what personal healing is all about. And there's lots of ways to embrace that these days. There's your meditation classes, your yoga classes. There's classes for counseling and digging deep into some of the character flaws that we all have. There's lots of ways of embracing personal healing, but it's got to be done. There's just no escaping it. And it's the kind of thing where if you're carrying anger, hate, jealousy, greed, those kinds of emotions, that you can't really love. You can't. Love will always be conditional. Conditional that somebody acts in the way you think they should act. Conditional in the way that you can only give them so much of yourself, because the rest of it is in pain and hurting. So, if you want to love, then first love is to take care of yourself and your relationship with the Creator. because that relationship with the Creator is essential, because you came from the Creator. And so love is a self-discovery. You have to discover who you are, the gifts you carry, the spiritual mandate, the ancestral lineage that you have. And in discovering all of that, you discover how sacred you are, how beautiful you are, and how the Creator made you in perfection. The Creator never makes a mistake. He made you in perfection, and it's up to you to raise yourself to a higher level of consciousness to understand who you really are. And then once you understand that, you're able to share that great love that the Creator has for you. You're able to share that love with other people and do it unconditionally.
Thank you. There's a couple of questions that I feel like they've been answered from this everything. Because Rodney and Carolyn were asking, would love to hear all about the ways we can heal and learn from Mother Earth. And there's something else. Did you want to speak to that, or I feel like you just gave us a whole thing on how to make that connection?
I think understanding a fundamental truth that all of those plants that you work with on your farm are sentient beings. They have a soul, they have a purpose, they have a pattern that the Creator put inside of them. And they can talk back to you. But people don't believe that. And they don't want to work to understand that language of spirit that's universal for all people. They don't want to work for that. It's too hard, too freaky, too like way out of the social norm. And, they let it go. But unless you understand how to talk to the trees, how to give thanks to the berries, to the corn, the beans, the squash, to all those elements in your garden, talk to the bees that are pollinating for you, all the worms that are creating new soil in your garden. Those beings are actually more highly evolved than human beings, because they are following the original pattern that the Creator put inside of them on how they should live in this world. The only ones that are not following that pattern are human beings, because we have this thing called a mind and we have free will. And so, the ego takes over. The desires of the heart or the obsessions take over. And when that happens, we fall off the path of humility. And when you fall off that path, then you live life for yourself, not even for your partner or for your children. You live it for yourself. And it's all about how much can you get for self, as opposed to the cultures of our people. And I would say this as a generality for all Indigenous cultures. Those cultures are cultures of giving and sharing. And your stature in the community is not about how much you have, but about how much you give, and giving unconditionally. So it's a pretty beautiful way of life for Indigenous knowledge systems that are being called into the world now, because that old system of the empire and capitalism and the way that we live with trade, as opposed to living locally and living with less, that's all going to change. That's all going to change. And when Mother Earth gives herself a shake, we're going to know. We're going to know who's boss when she gives herself a shake. And that's not far off. So this is a time of preparation for us. It's not a time of fear. No, nobody should be afraid of getting sick. With your strong spirit and the medicines that you work with, are you going to get sick? Yeah, probably. Are we all going to get sick? Probably. But, it's how you deal with that illness that is important. And so this is a time of preparation. It's a time of strengthening our immune systems It's a time of eating well, sleeping well, loving and caring for each other well, sharing abundantly. And when I say sharing, I don't mean just material goods. I mean sharing yourself, sharing your compassion, your kindness, your generosity, and helping other people that are really struggling. So, it's a calling for us as spiritual people to do our best work in these times of chaos.
Okay, thank you. I think is a big kahuna of a question here from Denise. She says, I'm interested in sky teachings.
Me too.
Oh my gosh.
Me too. There's a man who's done a lot of teaching, I think, on sky and star teachings. And I think his name is Wilford Buck. And, the ones who really hold those sky teachings really strongly are Lakota people and Blackfoot people. So that's a source of learning for all of us, because the time that Shun Kiwaden spent with us, a Cree medicine man from Sucker Creek, Alberta, when he spent that time with us, he would often talk to us about star formations in the spirit world and how at certain times of the year, those star formations manifest here on the earth, and that those are places where we make our strong ceremonies. So there's a lot to know for star knowledge. I can't say that I know it, but I sure would love to be able to learn it. And so if you come across some really beautiful teachings, maybe whoever asked that question can come back and share with us.
That would be great. Thank you. So Denise, if ever you feel like you want to share some of that, that would be incredible. Now I'm looking at the time. Renee has something that could come up. If you would like one more question or go to our song, I don't want to keep you up. It's 9:05.
So let's do one more question, then we'll go to the announcement for next week, and then we'll do the song.
Renee, unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking my question. I really appreciate your time, and everyone else's as well for attending this, as always. Cathy for facilitating. Thank you. I just have been, I've been blessed with the connections from the beginning of these talks. So I just want to say thank you so much for facilitating that. I'm so appreciative, beyond words, of the opportunities and I guess just the friendships that are forming from these talks. I really truly appreciate them. And as you know, we're planting our garden. We're very busy. We're hard at work, and I would like to know if because we have a circular herb garden, a medicine and flower garden, and I would like to know if it's appropriate for me to plant medicine in the 4 directions in honor of these talks, and if so, which ones could I plant in the 4 directions?
So we'll have a private conversation about that, kind of offline, and dig into that a little more deeply with you. So, and there's other connections, I think, that are waiting to touch base with you, so we can share all of that information at one time. And that's the power of these talks, because when we have an opportunity to share like this, it's really powerful. And I remember hearing prophecies that talked about a time when a cobweb would cover the earth, and what else could it be but the internet, right? And it's working in our favor, and it's enabling us to be able to have these connections. So we'll be in touch offline for that piece. And I want to make an announcement before we go to our final song with Cindy. And that is that next week, Lisa Levi Paul is going to come on, and she's going to be talking about her journey of spirit. And as a young woman who is now a wife and a mom, but she's also studying to be a social worker. She's going to be talking about what it was like to grow up in a First Nations community, some of the challenges that she faced as a young person, and how ceremonies played a significant role in her life. So I think it's going to be a real beautiful story that she's going to share with us, and it makes me happy when the young people come forward with their questions, their dreams, their visions, their experiences, because it strengthens all of us. So thank you so much to Lisa for being with us next week. So I'll turn it back to you now, Kathy. I think
Okay.
we're going to have Cindy to close us off for tonight, and just some words of gratitude and love to all of you for joining us again, and for the deep conversations that we have here, and for the sharing that we're able to do, for the challenges that we face from this time to the time we see each other next week. May you meet those challenges with love and with joy and patience, and be stronger for it. So thank you for this evening.
Thank you so much. I'm going to show you all a photo of Mike and Renee's garden that they're talking about. I know it's not so clear.
Oh, it's pretty clear.
Was it good? Thank you. So Cindy's going to come on. I'm also going to post in the chat. So if you want to share anything, you can put it in the chat. But I'm also going to post the link. So if anybody felt moved to make a donation, I'm feeling really moved tonight in that area. And so I want to say it again. Of course, this is here for you, absolutely free, but I'm going to keep giving that link throughout the calls in case anybody feels a little moved. The lodge always loves to have wood and the grass cut and things like that. So I'm going to put that link in the chat if anybody felt so moved. Cindy, are you there?
Yes, she is.
Cindy, you might be muted. Actually, it looks like her line dropped. So I'm sure she'll pop back on in a sec. I'm going to put that link.
Sorry about the technical difficulties there.
It was great. So that's it. Good night. And Diane, thank you so much. Actually, this call, I know I always call you after and say this was the best one ever, and I think this was the best one ever. I will listen to it again before I go to bed. So no, I'm going to get on that. If you go onto my website, we've set up a Red Table Wisdom Talks page, so all the videos are on there. So you can watch them, and within the hour, this one will be up too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been such a joy for me every single week to be with you, to be able to use my gifts has nourished my spirit and has kept me mentally kind of on an even keel. So thank you. You don't know what you're doing to nourish me. Thank you.
This is great. Well, everybody, any last love letters, type them in. Unmute yourself and say good night. I'll leave it open for a few moments.
Good night, all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Night, thank
Good
you.
everyone.
Night, night, everyone. Thank
Night,
you.
everyone.
Diane.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Night, Kendall.
English.
Bye, Carol.
Good night, Denise.
Good night. Miigwech, miigwech, miigwech.
Night, Diane.
Good night.
Good night, Kelly.
Night, Sunny.
Good night, Franco.
Good night, Katie.
Good night, Cindy. Thanks for the song.
Yes,
Night,
for the
Philip
song.
Farmers.
That was awesome.
Oh, they're so cute.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
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 Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Hi, guys.
Good night, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Diane. Good night,
Good
Cindy.
night.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure joining you all. Thank you for your wisdom.
Kendra, is that you?
All right. So I cried about 5 times tonight. I am going to say sweet dreams to all of you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. That's it. Much love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.